Well, hey, here's something that I want to talk about. Um, so I went over to Kat's a few days ago, and she had me watch all of Wednesday with her. She'd already seen it, and she was basically rewatching it with me. I was watching it for the first time. She showed me the first episode, excuse me, like 2 weeks ago or something. It was still at least fresh enough in my mind that I remember what was going on. And then we watched episodes 2 through 8, all in one run. And to preempt this is going to be a full spoiler review because I had a lot to say about this show, and I had a lot to work out on what I thought about it because it made me think a lot of things. It had me do a big thunk. So I might forget a thing here or there because when you watch like a kind of dense show all in a row, like it's a mystery show, there's kind of like a lot of little threads and red herrings and things like that. So I might like slightly jumble things up, but I think I have a pretty good memory of basically what happens. And a lot of this stuff was stuff that I made notes that I wrote down at like the day or the evening that I got back from her place, and I was still thinking about it and like why I had problems with it. I'm gonna spoil. Here's the general summary of my thoughts on Wednesday. It is a decently paced show with a couple good performances. That is mainly brought down by a lot of very weak contrived writing and a very shallow, uninteresting main character. Yeah, that's actually a great way to sum it up. That's kind of my main issues with the show. It is pretty alright. I don't like giving number ratings. If I had to, I guess I would give it a 6. That's it. You can go watch it yourself. Anyway, I'm gonna go into my entire discussion about Wednesday. All these thoughts that I've had. I wrote a lot. Okay, so basically, Wednesday, it's the new Netflix show. It's about Wednesday Addams from the Addams family, and she is going to a magical Harry Potter school, and she's solving a mystery, and she's a teenager now. She's aged up. It's kind of like a CW show. That's what I heard it compared a lot to. I haven't seen CW shows, but maybe that's a very apt comparison for those of you who have. Okay, so the premise of this show is that Wednesday, it gets, like, Pugsley is getting bullied. This is how the show opens. Pugsley is getting bullied by these, like, jocks at their, like, normal people school. They use the word normie, unironically, to describe normal people, quote-unquote, like non-weirdos. And it's really painful, and, like, it physically, like, it made me, like, deeply cringe. Gave me a deep, deep cringe. Every time they said it, and they say it at, like, multiple times, like, almost every episode. It's very difficult to get over. So the normie jocks, it makes them sound all like 4chaners, are bullying Pugsley. And so Wednesday, they do like whatever, they do like water polo or something. So Wednesday releases fucking piranhas into the pool to kill them, and one of them dies. I'm pretty sure he dies. It's not super, maybe I just missed it. Maybe he did survive, but that's like premeditated murder at the very least. So she gets sent off to this boarding school for, the term that they use is outcasts, which is funky supernatural peoples. I don't really know what makes Wednesday Addams like a supernatural. She's just like a girl. But fine, whatever. Okay, it feels a little odd. I feel like in the original Addams Family, these people just kind of existed. they were just quirky. Maybe that is. It's all the quirksters go to this school. And there's like a murder that she starts solving. Here's my first issue. Wednesday has no motivation in this show. It's really weird. Basically the entire show hinges on her. The main thrust is that she is attempting to solve the mystery of these murders that are being committed by a mysterious monster. And where did it come from? Who is connected to it? Why is this happening? The problem is that she really has no reason to at all. So her initial motivation is that she wants to get out of the school. She wants to escape because she doesn't like being there for some reason. I think she's just kind of a misanthrope. She just doesn't like I would imagine that she doesn't like being around normies. And so her going to a school for people like her would be great. Maybe she would like that. Maybe she could get along with people, but then she just doesn't, and she's like a gigantic asshole to literally everyone she meets for no reason. No real reason. It's really strange. People show her nothing but genuine kindness and friendliness and are by all accounts good people, and she just dismisses them and is incredibly condescending and shitty for no real reason. So really she's just a misanthrope, and she doesn't like people in general. Which is there's problems related to that I have, but I'll say that for later. So her initial goal is she just wants to escape the school. So she works out this whole thing where she tries to escape and ends up witnessing a student getting murdered by the monster. And then suddenly, that kid shows up, and he's just all fine and dandy the next day. So she then she's like, oh, am I crazy? What's happening? So she tries to see what happened. She investigates what happened, why he got killed. Why is he alive still? Because he immediately leaves or whatever. He leaves the school. He gets taken home. She's like, he fucking got ripped in half. How is he alive? And it turns out that the version of him that left was not actually him. It was her principal, who can shapeshift into people. And she did that to protect the school's reputation, I guess. People were already dying in the proximity of the school, but fine. She didn't want a student to die and that to be reported on and stuff. So then for some reason, now Wednesday completely forgets about her goal of leaving the school and just starts trying to solve the mystery of the monster. And she just kind of starts doing this with no explanation. And it's really odd. I don't know what her motives are, or what is driving her to solve this mystery. She doesn't care about the school. She doesn't care about the people there, especially not at the start of the show. She just it's super strange because she keeps making really just consistent deadpan comments about how she would rather people just died. The show literally opens with her attempting to murder some people. But for some reason, she cares about the murders? Wouldn't she just... I almost feel like it would be more in character for her to want to kill more people. Why does she care? And that kind of the root of the issue that I have with her character is that she really has nothing going on. When I try to look at her throughout the series and think about her, okay, why is she doing things? What does that say about her? You really just end up with nothing, and the show never really delves into any of her internal logic or her reasoning or her values or anything. And it's really strange because the elements are there to have done that. the first thing she does is like, yeah, murder, but that was because she was trying to protect her brother. Oh, okay, so she cares about her family. She has some solidarity with at least her family, if not people who are bullied or outcasted. Until she goes to the school with just people who are like that, and then she hates them too. Also, like, there's no, it's super strange because she treats it like it's her old high school, like the regular human normie high school, but there's no real, like, they don't really do any work to establish that there's a similar kind of social hierarchy or sense of snootiness. Like, the most you really get is that there's one popular girl, the siren girl, that's in her class, who's like, but she's just popular because she's like top of the class. Like, she's smart and she does sports and she's good at stuff. And yeah, she has a bit of an attitude. I think she might, yeah, like she's sort of mean. Like, okay, I could see Wednesday maybe having a rivalry with her specifically because that seems like it could be in character. But she sort of just acts that way to everyone, and I don't know why. I don't know why. There's no scenes of, like, her getting bullied. There's no scenes of other people getting bullied. Like, it would be interesting if you go to this school for, like, monster people, and there's, like, a social hierarchy even there, and, like, that might be kind of interesting. Like, you could make some kind of a comment about that. Like, hey, have you guys seen Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan? Because sort of like the message of that movie is that, like, Lindsay Lohan thinks that because she's quote unquote not the popular girls, that she's better than them, and that she's like literally like a better person, that she's superior, and then it that sort of mindset ends in her basically being very self-centered and actually extremely egotistical, and she ends up hurting her friends. It's literally where the title of the movie comes from, is when her best friend, like, fucking rips into her and tells her that she's a mean girl. And that's like her wake-up call for her to go, oh shit, I totally lost track of, like, stuff that was important to me because I got too caught up in the social hierarchy. The point, like, the broad theme of that movie, as I would interpret it, is that even buying into the social hierarchy at all, and even if you are supposedly the on the lower rung or on the oppressed end of that scale, and perpetuating that sort of a mindset actually can be really bad for you. It can make you into an equally do equally negative things to you and your personality, make you bitter and arrogant and self-righteous, like the person who, like, oh, you guys don't like me because I'm so much more, I'm an intellectual, I'm so much smarter than you, and it's like, no, it's because you're a fucking weird asshole. You're just like, just chill out, like, you are perpetuating the division between you and other people. Like, that would kind of be interesting. The show never really does that. It never sets up, like, oh, there's actual still in this, literally, like, a school for what they describe as outcasts. There is still social division. No, they never do that. Everyone just seems kind of chill. Everyone seems pretty nice. There's literally one girl who's a little uppity because she has a bit of an ego. And that's kind of it. Wednesday Addams is Lindsay Lohan's character pre, like, final part of development where she chills out. Oh god, okay, so fucking when I talk about Wednesday, is literally, she's the worst part of the show. She's the worst part of the show. Especially in the early episodes. Oh my god, the dialogue. It weirdly gets better. I checked the writers for each episode, and it seems like the first 4 episodes were one, was like a sort of a there's people who are consistent across the whole thing, but there's a couple different writers from the first half to the last half of the show. The dialogue, especially at the first 3 episodes, is so hard. It's so hard to listen to Wednesday Addams be this fucking try-hard, chuny. That's what she is. That's the vibe that she gives off. It's like, maybe can I find like a quote or something? Wednesday dialogue. Netflix, I guess. It's to like really sell you the cringe. Let's see, the 38 best quotes. Here, where's a good one? Give me an actual Wednesday quote. Oh my god. Oh, is that where she goes like, oh, okay, here's one. She goes, these are all traits of great writers and serial killers. When she's talking about her, because she's a writer, just like me, actually. Oh, she used the word mansplaining. That was funny. Yeah, I'm trying to find... Yes! Oh my god, okay, I haven't talked about Enid. I'll talk about Enid in a second. Enid says, enjoy your solitude, Wednesday. And Wednesday said, it's not your solitude. If you're still here... Oh my god. It's real... Okay, I can't deliver it the same way that she does. If you go watch, like, literally, like, the first 2 episodes... Every single interaction she has where she's like introducing herself to characters is like this, where they extend nothing but like friendliness and genuine kindness to her, and openness and acceptance, and she just responds like she's trying to put them off, like in this purposely mean, like standoffish way that is really weird and off-putting. And what's worse, I saw people saying that like, what's the actress's name? Jenna Ortega, I think, is the main... Yeah, that's her. I thought her name was different, but Jenna Ortega, who plays Wednesday. I saw a lot of people saying that she, like, carried the show? Really? Really? I thought, like, she does a okay job for the most part, but, like... It might have been the direct... Okay, there's this problem, especially with these, like, super try-hard edgelord lines, where she says the line too fast. She says it, like she's trying... It sounds like she's come up with this fucking zinger in her head. But she doesn't sound confident when she delivers it. She just sounds monotone. And like she's trying to sound confident and cool. Which ends up making her sound super fucking lame. Like, I was really, really not on board with this character from her introduction. Like, she says things like she's trying to get the words out, like she's a little too nervous, so she's getting the words out a little too fast, and it just, it's so hard to listen to. It's like someone trying to be cool, and if that was the intention, bravo, a successful portrayal of a really cringy teenager. But I feel something tells me that she was supposed to seem cool. Because no one really reacts like she's embarrassing. And it is. She's so embarrassing to watch. Other than that, like, she does, like, that, I don't know what that is. It could have been the direction. It could just be the dialogue. It could have been her. But, like, I did not think her performance was especially good. And hey, speaking of Wednesday not being a likable character, I want to get something out of the way because I think it's important to when I talk about what I don't like about the character. I don't care if a character is not likable. A lot of people use a character being unlikable as like a negative against them. I don't agree with that. So when in order for the viewer to be invested into a story, they have to there needs to be some kind of in for them. Like some people, there are people who will just be invested in whatever story you give them, and that's great for them. But a lot of people need some kind of a reason to care about the things that are happening, and specifically what is happening to the characters, or sometimes, I think to a lesser extent, the setting, the world. But it really comes down to the characters, because that is how we empathize. That hits us in like empathic parts of our brain and makes us care. It makes us care. The characters are our gateway to caring about the story. So oftentimes, a very tried and true way of doing this is to make a character likable. Because, well, if you like them, it's like if they were a friend or a family member or someone you care about, right? Someone you would care about in real life that you would maybe want to be friends with, or that you enjoy seeing, like seeing the exploits of, perhaps. So naturally, you just kind of like, your brain sort of naturally latches on to them because you care about, you want to see them succeed because you like them in the same way you would want your friend to succeed at something. It's sort of a similar, like, empathetic relationship. I don't know if empathic is actually the right word. I think it's empathetic. That type of a connection in your brain. It is not the only way, and in fact there are many characters who are very well liked, who are not likable at all, who are still very engaging and enthralling. And it's a little trickier, and it's a little less, well, it's very tried and true, but there isn't like a it's a little more, you have to like kind of work around the fact that they are not immediately likable. So there's a quote, there's a YouTuber, one of my big inspirations actually, Rebel Taxi, aka Pan Pizza. He has a video from forever ago where he basically says, he had a quote, I'm going to probably misquote this a little bit, but generally what he said was, and I very much like, this kind of changed the way that I look at a lot of fiction, especially like my own writing and things like that, which is, a main character does not have to be likable or relatable. They have to be interesting and understandable, at bare minimum. And so being understandable is related to being relatable and likable, but it's not one-to-one. I would maybe even say that being understandable is like an umbrella for those types of things. When a character is here's a great example: Light Yagami from Death Note. So Light is clearly the villain in Death Note, right? He is a serial killer. He is insane. He's off his rocker, and he's this egotistical maniac. He has a literal god complex. He sees himself as a god in like very clear terms. He believes he's the god of the new world, is what he sees himself as. But he's a great protagonist because you understand where he's coming from. You can at least understand his thought process and his ideology and his motivations. He explains it very clearly in the first episode. His idea about, culling the evil people out of society. Most people would call that wrong, but it's at least like an argument. You can at least see how someone would come to that conclusion that he does. There have literally been people in history who have killed a lot of people who have come to that same conclusion. So he's understandable, and that and the things that he does, and the way that he uses the Death Note, and his other things like his intelligence, the way that he goes about accomplishing his goals is also partially what makes him interesting. The reason, so when you get something interesting, it's like this little food for your brain to like nom on. And I think that inherently creates a connection between you and the character, or at least because of the ideas that they have or that they represent. That your brain inherently gets invested because it is like thinking about the ideas that this character puts forward. When you hear Light is just like, he is presenting a very easy to understand moral argument. And you think about it, and even if you don't agree with it, you're at least thinking about it, right? It gives you your brain something to chew on, and that in a way makes you invested in the character. There are lots of characters who kind of follow in a similar vein, where like you don't agree with them at all. They're bad people. They're not likable. They do terrible things, but they give you something to think about. One of the great things about art is that it's a way to explore different kinds of ideas. And if a character is not necessarily likable, the author then, or the writer then, has to make the audience invested in them in a different way by making them, I would say, maybe there's other ways that you could do this, but I think making them interesting, like understanding is like the first step to then get to the interesting stuff. If that makes sense. Like, excuse me, they might go hand in hand. You could probably talk about it in a bunch of different ways. The issue is that Wednesday is like neither. So there is like, I was not invested in her character at all. I did not find her likable, so I wasn't invested in that way. I did not find her interesting, and I did not understand what she felt, or what her beliefs or values are at almost any point. Like, you can sort of pull that she cares about her family, but the show, she's not with her family for like 90% of the show. It's like barely a factor there. There's this very odd moment where there's an episode. So that the town is supposed to take place in Vermont, which is I had to remember just now that Vermont is a state. I was like, what state is Vermont in? Oh yeah, it's its own state. Vermont is one of the teeny tiny little states that's on the east coast of the U.S., and it's so small because it was like a colony. It was one of the original like colonies, and that's why it's shot in Romania. Gorgeous, like actually beautiful. A lot of beautiful locations in this show, but it takes place in Vermont, and part of the show, a big element of the show, is that the town was a pilgrim town, and they have this like very questionable, like I think like pilgrim world, I think it's called, basically a tourist trap based on the story of the pilgrims and stuff. And it's a very weird callback. There's a moment, so they have to like go work, they have to like go do some kind of service thing where they go basically volunteer at Pilgrim World. And there's a scene of Wednesday telling these German tourists about the actual horrors that were committed against the Native Americans. And they all get freaked out and leave. And I thought that was very strange, because it's this really weird callback to the Addams Family values from 1993, I believe. I have to go back and double check it, but yeah, it's from that movie. That's where Wednesday and Pugsley get sent off to like a summer camp where they have a very similar play about like the first Thanksgiving. And in that movie, it works that she cares about the Native Americans because Wednesday is like not a total misanthrope. She's like very deadpan, and she doesn't like get along. Mainly what it establishes is that Wednesday she doesn't dislike people, she dislikes people who are fake. She doesn't like she shows up to this camp and there's all of these, it's like a cartoon. That movie's actually quite funny. I was rewatching some scenes from it. Like, it's got some pretty funny moments, like a lot of really funny quotes and stuff. Where the two counselors who are just like the big, all smiles, and they literally introduce it as like the camp for the young and privileged or something like that, and it's like all white kids. There's just this plastic sheen over it, and it's called like Camp Chippewa, which is a Native American like tribe name, and it's very like, which is like this irony, right? And they're putting on this play that is an extreme whitewashing revisionist version, and it's very over the top. Like, they refer in this play, they like refer to the natives as like noble savages, and it's like it's incredibly racist. And then the culmination is that Wednesday basically leads this little uprising where they change the dialogue in the play, and she has this monologue about what really happened to the Native Americans. Or it's like this in-character monologue about like your people will drive golf carts, mine will drive stick shifts, or something like that. And then they light the fucking set on fire, and it's really funny. That like there is a very clear, strong establishment of what Wednesday cares about. She doesn't like they literally get sent at one point in that camp to they have to like watch happy video. It's literally like Clockwork Orange style. Like they get sent to like the Good Vibes hut or whatever, and they have to watch like cheerful, positive programming, to like re-educate them, basically to fix their her and the other kids' dispositions, and like that is what she's resenting, right? So you understand when she does that. Okay, Wednesday cares about being genuine, and she doesn't like the fact that this camp is this egregious whitewashing of history, and that everybody, there's a lot of people who are very just surface level fake, like people who don't, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't want to find all the words to describe it. That's what she's rebelling against. Now, I'm not saying that like that's like the Wednesday Bible, right? And you have to pull every interpretation of Wednesday from this one movie from 1993. What I am saying is that movie is like 90 minutes, and that's like the B plot of the film. And this show is like 8 hours or something like that. And I feel like I understand substantially more about Wednesday as a character from that B plot in the one movie compared to the entirety of this Netflix series. She is shockingly like poorly defined. Like I couldn't tell. Like I was asking Kat, I was like, why does Wednesday care about the plight of the Native Americans? It's really strange. I don't like. It makes sense to care about it, right? It was a horrible thing that happened, but why does Wednesday care about it? She's so misanthropic and seems to like just love just shitting on people and like society, and like we live in a society, and why does she care? Does she care about marginalized peoples? You realize that there's some people at this school that have no face. They have no faces. Like they literally like they can't go to Kohl's. They can't go to Dick's Sporting Goods. How do they eat? I don't know. They have no faces. And she fucking like this is the school that like takes these kinds of people in. And she like hates the school? But also she like cares that some native people got burned alive like 200, 300 years ago. And you're like, what? Why does she give a fuck? Why does she even like 400? It'd be like 400. Whatever. Several hundred years ago, a horrible massacre was committed against many different native peoples by colonists in the now United States. And why does she care? She loves death. She loves people dying. She seems to love like fucking. Is there a line? I swear to God, there's a line of dialogue where she talks. Oh. Ivan the Terrible? Was it Ivan the Terrible? Yeah, Ivan the Terrible. That's like, she references him as, I'm pretty sure it's him. I'm pretty sure she's the one who references him. Anyway, yeah, he's called Ivan the Terrible. I don't think I need to go in depth on what kind of a ruler he was. It's super strange. I don't understand, because it just doesn't line up with the rest of her character. It feels really out of place, unless she doesn't actually care, and she's just doing it to like burst these tourists' bubble and to take a stab at the Pilgrim World people, which like yeah, in like the Addams Family Values, she's kind of doing the same thing, but you sort of get the sense that like, because there isn't all this other shit of her just hating people, you kind of get the sense that that version of Wednesday like has some like actual care. Like, she basically tolerates like people who don't have this, veneer over them. You just sort of get the idea that she's just sort of deadpan, and she doesn't like fake people. And like, yeah, she's taking a stab at them, but she's also making a statement, because like, oh, it's like a big part, like a very, very strong, like establishing part of the character, that she has some kind of, because like she experiences in that movie where people like look at her and they think she's weird, and they immediately discount her because of the way that she looks. So she knows in some sense what it's like to be prejudged by people and to be dismissed by them based off of their appearances. So maybe she has some empathy for marginalized people, like the Native Americans. And she dislikes this whitewashed version of them. Like, that's something you can pull out of there. Why does she do that in this show? She just kind of seems to hate people in general, even people who are super genuine and nice and completely themselves and are nice to her. So it just kind of ends up with, she just doesn't like people, and she really has nothing else going on underneath. There's this weird thing where, okay, so there's like 5 different scenes, it feels like, in this show, where other characters, like, stop her and have a conversation where they very explicitly tell her what all of her problems are. Like, literally all of her flaws and what's wrong with her, in the most direct way possible. Like, for instance, she basically just uses other people and their desire to be friends with her as a tool to help in her investigation. And that results in a lot of people getting hurt in very literal ways. The fucking B-boy Eugene, Mr. B's, gets put in a fucking coma. He's out of the show for like half the series after episode 4. He gets put in a fucking hospital because of her. And you think, like, there's these real, concrete parts of consequences for her actions, where you think that, like, oh, this is the point where she kind of wakes up. This is her wake-up call. And, like, that's a good one, because specifically when Eugene gets nay-nayed on, because that's, like, episode 4 that happens, like, right in the middle of the series. You're like, holy shit. And she's, like, standing in the hospital room. His 2 gay moms come in, and they're, like, upset, and because their little boy, it got fucking attacked by a big monster. He's in a coma. And you're like, oh my god, maybe this is the point. And Eugene is, like, the most... he should be the type of person Wednesday empathizes with. He's not even a popular kid. He's this weird fucking little guy who likes bees, and he hangs out in this weird little, like, corner of the school on the outside where he's got all the bee hives, and he just likes bees, and he doesn't know how to talk to girls, and he's kind of this awkward little funny guy. And you would think, and he's, like, super on board with her. And he's, like, like, you would think that she would at least, like, care about him. And when she finds him all fucked up and like passed out, and I was like, holy shit, is he actually dead? Because that's kind of how it's presented. She has this really like intense expression. It's like some of the most expressive acting Jenna Ortega does in the whole series. And she looks like angry and upset and devastated, and it's like, oh my god. And then you cut to all this stuff in the hospital, and you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be the moment. This is gonna be where she starts. This is gonna be the turning point. This is gonna be the catalyst for her starting to soften up and change her ways. And who the fuck is moving around at fucking 3:30 a.m. in this house? And like, okay, this is where the character development starts. Oh, first half she's gonna be this total asshole. Second half she's gonna start learning and changing her ways a little bit. And then it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen, and I don't know why. She does the exact same thing again. She takes like 2 of her friends to the fucking danger house that she like has a strong suspicion has a connection to the monster. And then guess fucking what? One of them gets injured. Gets like severe, like gets all these fucking gashes across his chest and shit. And it's like, why the fuck do you... What? Like, she doesn't change at all. And it's super weird. Because on top of these, like, serious consequences that happen as a result of her actions, of people who she should care a little bit about, getting, like, physically hurt, like, put in the hospital. You also have these scenes which almost feel like they're for the audience of characters. Again, this happens like 5 times of characters telling her specifically what her problem is. Like, you're a fucking asshole, you're a misanthrope, you don't care about other people, you're egotistical, everything's about you. You use other people as they use the term pawn like 100 times in this show because that's how she fucking sees people. That's literally how she uses people in her little fucking investigation game, which I don't know why she's even bothering with. And then she like doesn't change. She changes in like the weakest way possible. Like she says like thank you, I think twice. Like it has to be forced out of her. She like is moderately like neutral towards the people who have done nothing but help her and be friendly to her. Enid, my poor sweet Enid, my beloved. Enid is the best character in this show. Enid is the best character. That's Wednesday's roommate, the blonde girl who you might have seen on Twitter, where they pin them as like this weird lesbian couple or whatever, and they like ship them together. No. Stop doing that. I could not believe Enid. Okay, Enid is like she's the best part of the show. Every scene, she is so energetic. She's so bubbly. She's so cute. She's so cute. She's so happy. Every single scene she's in, she makes it more fun. She makes it more entertaining. She's such a joy. Every time she's on screen, her actress does a wonderful job. And there's an episode where their like little dorm has to like do like a canoe race. It's this whole thing, and then they win the big cup. They win the cup, and Enid is so excited. She's like jumping up and down with it. She's so happy. And then you cut to like later that night, and in like the panning shot of the room, Enid is like asleep with like she's holding the cup in her arms, like a body, like an anime body pillow, and it's so cute. I love her. And Wednesday fucking hates her. She hates her, and you know why? You know why she doesn't like her? She doesn't like her because she listens to pop music, and she wears pink, and she has plushies. And she's bright and cheery, and she's friendly, and asks her friendly questions, and tries to be her friend when they're literally roommates. They're literally roommates. Like you would imagine, like Enid, if your roommate. If you go to college or boarding school and your roommate is Enid, you won the lottery. This is exactly the kind of person that you want in your dorm, in your room. She's just nice. She's just this nice, sweet girl. And that's completely her. That's just genuinely who she is. There's no like veneer. There's no layer of false, personality or persona. And Wednesday is just a fucking asshole to her for no reason. And it sucks. It's so disappointing. There's like, and every character is somewhat like this. And it's weird because everyone keeps trying to be her friend. There's this character, Xavier. He's the white guy with the long hair. Xavier, at every point in the show, does the right thing. Pretty much. He does the right thing. He's friendly to his introduction in the first fucking episode. He saves her life like twice. He saves Wednesday's life twice. Just because he's a good guy. Just because he's a good guy. And he kind of has a crush on her, right? He sort of has this crush on her, and he's just trying to be friendly, and he's not like pushy about it. He's not weird about it. Not really. Like this is fucking Wednesday goes into his personal spaces, like she sneaks into like his room in this little shack where he's doing art, and she finds that like he's made some paintings of her, and he's been like sketching her. That's like the worst thing that he does is he did some kind of cringy, but that's like fucking it's not even like particularly weird or anything. Artwork, it's just her. It's just the stuff that like you do when you have a crush on someone. And you like write a little fan fiction about going on a romantic date. You just don't want them to find it because that would be horribly embarrassing. It's like the worst thing he does is he does cringy stuff that you do when you're like a teenager with a crush. Every other point in the show, he pretty much does like nothing weird. There's like sort of stuff that might connect him to the monster, but there's like really nothing conclusive. And he does everything right. He saves her life. He's nice to her. He's friendly. And again, not in like a weird way, like he's just trying to get with her. Like he's just nice. He listens to like her little theories about the monster. He supports her in like her investigation stuff. And he doesn't seem to be doing it with any kind of ulterior, like, super ulterior motive besides like, I want to like be around her because I like her. He's like a pretty nice guy. And what does he get? He just gets punished for it. He gets thrown in jail. Wednesday has him thrown in jail. She frames him on a bad assumption. On a bad assumption that he's the monster. And he's fucking in the cell. He's in the cell and she goes to see him and he fucking rips her a new one and he just says, he's like, what the fuck? I have done nothing but be nice to you. I have done everything to help you and I've just been a fucking good person. Why? Would you do this? What the fuck is wrong with you? On just like a guess? On like a strong hunch? You're gonna have me thrown in prison? Oh my god. What the fuck is her problem? And that's the issue, is that like you never really find out. Why does Wednesday hate people so much? Why does she hate people so much? If I at least knew. But even establishing that, like, I don't know, giving her some kind of weird backstory of like bad experiences she had or something. Like, I don't know. I have no idea what her internal logic is at almost any point in the show. She's just kind of doing things. And that's why the show doesn't really have plot holes, at least that I picked up on. But people overuse the term plot hole a lot to just refer to like stuff that they don't like or contrivances. And that's what this show really just has, is that it basically skates by on contrivances. Of like, okay, there's like information, and then the characters take that information and they stretch it out to a conclusion that's kind of, like, why would you do that with this? Why would you do that with Yeah, like there's a scene where the mayor gets hit by a car, right? And he's in critical condition in the hospital. Wednesday gets back to the school, and there's really no other details other than the mayor was hit by a car and he's in critical condition. And she gets back to the school, and the principal is like, and this is like the only thing that's happened, and then she goes, she tells her that the school is under lockdown. And it's like, why is the school under, like, the mayor got hit, he got sent to the hospital in like a hit and run. Like, could it have been attempted murder? Maybe. Perhaps. The setup was that the mayor was coming back from like the Danger Spooky House with supposedly information that would be like a key linchpin in the murder case, in the monster murders case. And he gets hit, and so they have a suspicion, obviously, that it has to do with that, but like they don't know. And like, so then why does the school go on lockdown? There isn't like a rash of people getting hit by cars. If it was like a student died or something, okay, well then I'd understand, like, don't let anyone leave the premises. But it just kind of happens. She just sort of says the school's on lockdown. And not really why, and this is really the only thing that could have caused that. And all it really does is just add another layer of, like, oh, well now when Wednesday sneaks out, it's like really, like she's really breaking the rules now. Okay. I don't get it. Did someone get like monster COVID or something like that? Is there an outbreak of monster pox? Isn't that a Goosebumps book? Is Monster Pox a Goosebumps book? It sounds like it is. Nope. I just made that up. It sounds like something that would be real. Yep. Oh. It is an episode of The Muppets. Okay. Yeah, it just, there's all these weird little contrivances. Oh god, episode 5 is this really weird... Kat described it as soon as it started. She described it as a filler episode. And it basically is. It's so strange. So basically, like, the idea is that it's a family day, or it's like family week or something like that. Basically, the family comes in and they stay to visit the kids, the students. And so the rest of the Addams family comes. People were dogging on the casting choices, specifically for Gomez. I enjoyed the Gomez guy. I like that he's just kind of a big fella. I think the main problem is with the script, because the script is so fucking serious, and Gomez is such a funny character that like oh my, Raul Julia in that movie is so oh my god. So when they go to the camp in like Addams Family Values, it's because like Pugsley got in trouble at school or something, so they're like sending him off to summer camp. And so they meet this family, and they just have this like perfect prim proper little daughter, and the father is like, oh, our little Jessica is just she's such a promising young lady. She just this year she skipped 2 grades of school. What about your boy, Gomez? Or Adam? Like, what about your son? And then he just grabs Pugsley by like the shoulder, and he's all super proud and beaming, and he goes, probation. Like, there's just this physicality and this fucking like, he's so goofy. He's great. I feel like this actor could probably do a good job as Gomez. He's just really given nothing funny to do, because the show is so serious. The entire episode is about how there's this space. Okay, so there's this thing that gets set up at the start. One of the key characters in this like love triangle that barely feels like a love triangle, which is why I haven't even talked about it, because it's like, oh, I guess it's a love triangle, is the sheriff's son. I think his name is Tyler. So the sheriff's son, in like the first episode, his dad says something about the Addams family, and he has like a grudge against them. So the son goes and looks in the files, and he finds that Gomez had this case against him for murder like 30 years ago, when he himself was at the same high school that Wednesday's at. And you basically that's sort of like why Tyler gets interested in Wednesday, and why he like because he's like a barista at this coffee shop that she goes to, and so he's just kind of curious about her, and that's sort of like how their relationship together sort of starts. And this, weirdly enough, this whole plot line about the Addams family having this kind of, or Gomez having this dark thing he did in the past, doesn't really go anywhere besides this episode. It feels like it was just there to like set up why Tyler would be interested in the Addams family. Excuse me. And then it just sort of ends up just going nowhere until this episode where they're like, oh, fuck, I guess we got to take care of that. And it basically turns out that, like, Gomez and Morticia were, like, super into each other in high school, but there was this guy, I think it's from, like, it's like the Gates family. Like, one of their sons was obsessed with Morticia, and he's a normie. I fucking hate that they use that word. And he's basically, he like, 30 years ago, there was, like, a dance at the school, and he goes, and his dad is a monster racist. He hates outcast people. Fucking hates Andre 3000 and Big Boy. And he basically sends his son in to, like, go poison the dance with, like, nightshade. Like, he's gonna spike the punch. And this fucking thing happens where he sees Gomez and Morticia making out, and he just gets, like, overcome with rage, and, like, in this scuffle that he and Gomez have, the nightshade, like, the bottle breaks, and it, like, absorbs into his skin, and he starts getting poisoned, and it ends up culminating in this, like, sword fight that they have, like, on the scaffolding of the school, like, over the courtyard. And everyone knows is that Gomez stabbed the Gates guy, and he got a murder charge against him, and then I forget exactly how he got out of it, but something happened, right? And then this whole episode is basically, oh, well, what it really was well, technically Morticia stabbed him. All right, Morticia stabbed the guy, but Gomez took the fall for her, and you find, and then, like, they have to find, so Gomez comes back, the family comes back, Gomez gets arrested because there's, like, new evidence against him or whatever, and he's basically been framed by someone, and God, fucking, this is so weird. And okay, if I remember correctly, Gomez goes to prison, and instead of, like, having a trial, he just signs a confession, and they're like, well, you're going to jail, like, without a trial or anything. And then Wednesday and Morticia show up, and they go, actually, the guy was being poisoned when he got stabbed. So the stabbing actually had nothing. So the part where he got stabbed and then fell, like, 3 stories and hit the ground and fucking exploded, that had nothing to do with him dying, because he was being already poisoned. And the mayor, who was the sheriff at the time that this happened, just goes, well, I guess my hands are tied. Gomez is free. And you're like, what? What? Why would he do that? Why would he give in to if someone watched this and remembers it, like, differently, and I'm being wrong here, tell me, because I was like, and it happened so fast, like I was talking to a friend the other day, and they were like, yeah, about this scene, and he's like, dude, when you sign, like, a confession, you're, like, fucking in jail. Like, that's the end of it, basically. Like, it doesn't, I guess because they're corrupt, but in the good way here? What? It just, what? And Gomez is just, like, super solemn, and he's not written like any other version of Gomez, where he's, like, all goofy and happy and taking it in stride. And I saw like a comment that was like, wouldn't Gomez would be like stoked about going to prison, and he would like fucking make friends with all the prisoners or something, and then like it would get into like wacky hijinks. But the show takes itself so goddamn seriously that there's this like serious ass segment of Gomez going to prison, and it's like, what the heck? Okay. And it's weird because I feel like this whole thread could have been used so much better. Now, it's usually considered like an arrogant thing to like say that you could have written something better or done something better than another person. I'm going to be arrogant, and I'm going to say that I could, because we're talking about Wednesday's motivation for solving the mystery, and personally, I think that whatever I could come up with is better than what the show gives, which is nothing. So here we go. We're going to do a little brainstorming. Okay, so Wednesday is at this school. We already know that the Addams have this sort of dark history in this town with this murder that happened that was never like given closure on. And specifically, this murder of this son had like a big ripple effect where all the other members of the family either they died in some way. It basically set off this chain of events where every single one of them died either by offing themselves or just drinking. I think one of them, like the dad, drunk himself to death. They say that the daughter like got shipped overseas and then drowned on the voyage. Just a disaster, and this was the first domino to topple over this whole family. Okay, so there's like this grudge against the Addams, but the case was never proved or something like that. There's this grudge against the Addams, right, and the Addams family that maybe the current sheriff and the mayor, who was the old sheriff, might still have against them, right? That they might be biased against them, or specifically Wednesday. Because the dad immediately has it out for her, and he's like, oh god, an Addams, yeah, fucking, her dad's a fucking monster, he's an asshole, he killed this guy, and that caused his whole family to die. And then we have this element of Wednesday being the only person present when this kid Rowan dies, the first murder that we see of the monster, right? Or the first like on-screen murder that the time she encounters the monster. Why not just like shift a couple things around and say, hey, before they had, maybe let's say that this Gates family had like an older son or daughter. Let's say daughter, and that she had a child who is like now an adult. But now this kid has her son has a new last name, and his son is Rowan or something. And his son is Rowan, and that's why they don't immediately, she could do a little investigating to see the connection between Rowan and this Gates family and the thing that her dad did, or, the death that happened 30 years ago. So that could give her a little bit of thrust to investigate that and see what's going on. But specifically, maybe she could be in the moment, let's say. Let's go back a couple steps. She's the only one who's there when Rowan is killed. What if you want to play into the sheriff and the mayor being corrupt and having it out for the Addams, why not do a thing where Wednesday is implicated in his murder? Why not have it so that she is basically framed via just, assumption that people don't believe that it's a monster, that they think it's a wild animal or something like that. and they say, well, no, the monster didn't do this. You would have to like change some ways of like, his injuries and stuff like that. But because there's also like, again, oh yeah, so the scene where Rowan dies, did I even mention this before? So yeah, it's like the first like time that, yeah, his death, right, I did kind of explain it a little bit. So his deal, and the reason that he was confronting her in this sort of secluded part of the forest, is that his mother was like a psychic, and she had this vision that Wednesday was going to destroy the school. Oh, and he wanted to kill her first. Why don't we just move this over a little bit and say, well, his mother is from the Gates family, and let's say his grandmother was from the Gates family, and she died. And maybe his mom died or something like that, or whoever his grandma's kid was. And it had this ripple effect extended out to like his immediate family. And that he's basically, he's trying to finish it. He's going to finish this grudge against her. And he doesn't give a fuck, because he's already going to kill her, right? He's already going to kill her. So he doesn't care. He just wants to he just wants to get revenge on the Addams. Let's just say that was what was going on, right? You could even keep the part about this psychic vision and stuff, and just say, oh yeah, his mom was also psychic because he has psychic powers. So he was psychic, or the one person in the family, maybe like his mom. Let's say the grandma married like a weirdo person, and then that's where he gets it from, because the original Gates family was all normies. And so this could all be things that Wednesday goes into and investigates, like, why did this guy try to kill me? What the fuck happened? What's the connection? And then basically structure the series a little differently, so that Wednesday gets implicated, and now that puts immediate pressure on her to find out what's going on with the murders, because one, she wants to clear her name, she wants to clear her family's name, and because her initial goal is to just escape the school. If you like running from the scene of the crime, now that she's already under suspicion for Rowan's murder, running from the scene of the crime is considered an extremely guilty thing to do. There's like a specific term for it, but like that's if you if you're under like heavy suspicion that you did something and you fled, that is considered like partly some admission of guilt. That would look really bad for her. So she can't leave. She can't continue her original goal of trying to leave. So now she's basically forced into solving the mystery and clearing her name. And at the same time, you can say that she is solving the mystery of the murders of who actually killed Rowan. And she's solving the mystery of what actually happened with Gomez and the Gates guy. And then kind of structure it differently, so that instead of being awkwardly kind of plopped into the middle of the show, do it like this. Have the family come out. Have like Gomez and Morticia come out, like immediately as soon as this happens, because they want to see their kid. And they're like, because they love their kid, they're going to come back and they're like, holy shit, we have to check up on her. Gomez gets arrested because of like a framing thing. Now there's immediate pressure, and the trial unfolds as like basically a side plot over the course of the series. So you have Wednesday at the school doing her little magical investigation thing, getting in, and then her like getting involved, messing with the trial, trying to find evidence, and then culminating in, let's say, the second to last episode is when Gomez's name is cleared, and then you can do the rest of whatever the fuck you want to do with the monster murders, right? I feel like that would have been such a stronger motivation. You would get to have more of Gomez. You would get to have more of Morticia, who I also enjoyed. I liked her mannerisms were fine. I thought she did a decent job of playing Morticia. I like her big goth boobs. I like her big funny frilly dress. It's not really frilly. It's just kind of flowy. You just get to have more of like those characters. Give Gomez like a fucking sense of humor about the situation. Don't make him so goddamn stoic and serious and solemn. And I feel like, and then Wednesday would have a motivation. You would get to have more interactions between her and her parents. You get to like, because we obviously start with this establishing that part of like scene of her character again, that she cares about her family because she defends Pugsley, and she's willing to go to great lengths to defend her family. That would explain why the fuck she's putting her life in so much danger. That could explain why she's putting other people's lives in danger, because maybe she cares about her family and that supersedes her care for other people, right? And maybe she can learn a little bit about friendships and having care for for other people who are not in her immediate family. There are so many ways that like this could, I feel like you could have structured this whole thing better so that it just came out a lot stronger. And as it is, it's, yeah. Is there anything else I wrote? Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, oh man, the ending of this show is fucking schlock. It's schlock. So the twist is that the one normie teacher at the school, who is Christina Ricci, who played Wednesday in the old 90s movies, she is actually the daughter who supposedly drowned at sea from the Gates family. And again, why is the thing with Gomez just dropped? Why is that thing just dropped, like just resolved in the middle of the show? And when you have a villain whose motivation involves that, oh my god, why wasn't it a culmination at the end? Wouldn't that be a great part of the show? Of like the court case where they find out that Christina Ricci is actually the daughter? Wouldn't that be wild? Like, that feels like something that would come out in the investigation. It's super weird how, like, there's no trial. Like, the Addams family is rich. Why don't they even have, like, they could pay a lawyer? Like, you can just fucking lawyer your way out of a bunch of stuff, right? Right, back on track. She was the daughter who supposedly drowned, but she didn't die, and she comes back to teach at this school, and when Wednesday is there, there's this kid, it's Tyler, it's the sheriff's son, who is a Hyde. He's like a Jekyll and Hyde, so he can transform into a big monster, and he loses all of his senses, basically. And she basically is manipulating and controlling him to commit these murders so that she can collect body parts to perform a ritual that will resurrect the founder of the town, who was just a very racist pilgrim man. But resurrecting him will also who hated outcasts. But resurrecting him will also, like, he is like evil demons, like magic. He has powers now, which is weird. Wasn't he just a guy? Do you suddenly get powers when you get resurrected by dark magic? What is going on? Okay, whatever. It really feels like they were like, fuck, we need to have this build to a whole thing. We need to have a big schlocky action sequence with a bunch of nonsense. And then it's just, dude, it goes so fast. It's wild. It's like Xavier gets thrown in jail. Tyler, in front of like a bunch of people at the sheriff's office, just tells Wednesday that he's the murderer and that he fucking loves murder and killing people. And then oh god, and then she fucking like runs off to go like stop this ritual from happening or something, and then she gets stabbed, and then she's like bleeding out, and then the CEO of racism gets resurrected, and they leave. They don't like make sure she's dead. He just kind of he stabs her. She gets really fucked up at a couple points, and she gets like stabbed, and then she gets oh no, she went to confront Christina Ricci. Christina Ricci hits her over the head with a shovel. Takes her to the mausoleum with the CEO of racism because she needs Wednesday's blood for some reason. I think it's because like Wednesday's ancestor killed racist guy, and then so she's been seeing these visions of her ancestor, who's like a little pilgrim girl who looks like her but is blonde, and so she's like bleeding out on the floor, and the pilgrim girl comes up. She appears, and she goes, Wednesday, I can give you a quick res, but you'll never see me again. And I'm like, and then Wednesday's like, sure. And then the ghost girl just puts her hands on the wounds and everything heals, and she like absorbs into her, and then she's gone forever. Oh no, we'll never see that character again. What a loss. And Wednesday just gets up and she's fucking like, she has like the tiramisu from Vampire Survivors. She just gets a quick revive. She had her GA. Bitch, I'm back out my coma. And then she goes and gets a sword and stabs the CEO of racism in the chest. And then he explodes. And then before that, there's this whole sequence where he wants to burn the school down, and he's like letting out these waves of fire, and he's going, I'm so racist, my racism fire. And then he gets stabbed in the chest and explodes, and it's like, yay. This Wednesday has saved the school from burning down. This school that she's done nothing but talk about how badly she wants to jihad from like the first day she's been there. She saved it, guys, because she cares about what exactly? Why? Like, it's so weird because it seems like the obvious thing that most good, decent people would do would be to stop this guy. But, like, why, besides the fact that, you know, he wants to kill her? I guess that's a fine motivation, but, like, it's like, it should be a moment, right? It should be a moment that's, like, the climax of these themes that the show should have been building up, of, like, the oppressor being defeated by the oppressed, and all that. Like, he's literally a racist, genocidal pilgrim who hates specifically outcast people. And like, this should be a scene where they're like culminating that conflict, but it's like nothing. There's just like nothing to it. Because Wednesday seems to just fucking hate those people anyway. Why did she do it? What does she care? What? And then Christina Ricci comes out with the Glock, and she's gonna shoot Wednesday? But then B-Boy comes back and he unleashes... He unleashes a swarm of bees on her, and she starts firing into the swarm of bees, and then I don't know how she gets downed exactly. Sure. Fucking sure. It really feels like they fucking ran out of ideas. It really feels like they're like, big fucking schlock action ending with like zero thematic relevance, zero anything. It's just so weak. And then fucking everyone's just cool. And fucking Enid. Poor Enid. There's this thing throughout the show where so Enid's like a werewolf girl, right? But she hasn't gone full wolf. She hasn't gone full silly mode yet. She can do a little claw action, but she hasn't gone to a full on furry transformation yet. And there's like this bit that's kind of amusing during like the parent week episode where her parents show up and like her mom is very overbearing and like fucking she's a lot. And the dad like doesn't say shit. And he just kind of stands there and just kind of smiles and like, and her mom wants her to go to werewolf conversion camp because she's worried about Enid like not having her wolf transformation soon enough. And it's like kind of amusing, and I'm like, damn, I hope Enid gets out of this one all right. And I think she just tells her to fuck off at the end. And I'm like, yeah, you go, Enid. You stand up for yourself. So everything's fucking going to shit. the monster mash is fucking bashing around in the forest. Tyler in his monster hide form, and Enid, in order to protect someone or other, I think, fucking goes full silly mode, and she has her first big werewolf transformation, and she and Tyler Monster have a CGI fight scene in the extreme dark. I love CGI scenes in heavy darkness where you can't make out the bad CG. Netflix CG. It's whatever. So she fucking ends up mollywopping him. Fucking. And she gets fucked up. All the students are freaking out. They're like they've all like evacuated the school because because of Pilgrim Man is coming, and they've all evacuated for their safety. They're all basically standing outside on the premises, and then Enid walks out of the forest, and she's like shaking, and she's all fucked up, and her face is covered in blood, and she just looks terrified, and she's just slowly walking out, and I'm like, oh my god, someone give her a hug. And then you know what, after all the shit that Wednesday has put her through, and all the just fucking what a terrible friend she's been to her, you know what she says? You know what Enid says as she walks up and she sees one of her, like, this guy she kind of like they had a crush on. She goes, "Where's Wednesday?" After all that, she's still, because she's fucking nice, because she's a nice fucking person, and she just needs a hug. And then Wednesday walks out, having just made Pilgrim Man die. And she gives Enid a hug, and I'm like, not from her! Fucking email did I get? Jesus Christ. I'm like, not from her! Fucking anyone else other than Wednesday? Fuck her! Why does anyone even bother with Wednesday at this point? She does nothing for anyone. She's just a fucking, like, why does anyone bother with her? And then you get to this scene, like, at the end, like, when they're wrapping everything up and they're going back home for break. And Xavier, who again did everything right and got punished, he like buys her a phone, or he gives her a phone. I'm like, did he buy that for her? Because he doesn't have a phone, because that's what normies use. And I'm like, did he buy that for her? And he goes like, hey, keep in touch. I'm like, why? Is he paying for her phone bill? What the fuck? What is happening here? Why would you ever want to talk to this person again? Holy shit. Oh my god. It's like, it's so weird. Wednesday as a character has like nothing going for her. She has nothing going on. There's nothing under the surface to make her even remotely interesting. She's just a terrible person. And her kind of like dark personality, like, it could be funny until you get to a scene where she thinks Tyler now is the monster, and she's right, but she doesn't know this for sure. And she and a bunch of the other kids basically kidnap him and fucking throw him in a shed. And they basically just question him, and he's like chained up in a chair, and I'm like, this is a little intense. But okay. And she's interrogating him, and he basically says he doesn't know what she's talking about, and she's wrong, and he denies everything. And she opens up her bag, and she pulls out like a saw and hammer. And the other kids are like, wait, what are you doing? And she's like, she says she's going to torture him. She's going to torture the information out of him. And it's like, in a more lighthearted show or adaptation, this could be played as like a comedy bit. this could be played as like a spit of dark comedy, right? But here, it's so self-serious that it's not funny at all. It's just fucking insane. And rightfully, all the other characters who were backing her up on this peace out. And they're like, this is way too far. What the fuck? And they all leave to go tell the principal about what's happening. And like, the principal she calls the sheriff. She tells her what's going on. And the sheriff ends up busting in just in time. Wednesday is about to hit him in the head with a hammer. With a hammer. She's about to fucking split his skull open. With a hammer. In a shed. On a strong assumption that she got it from a vision. Because she had a vision. Here's another thing, the fucking visions. Did I even bring this up? So Wednesday, oh my god. So Wednesday has this thing, and it's established in the first episode that she has these psychic visions, right? It's like, okay, we're doing a new thing with Wednesday. She gets these psychic visions of the future, or sometimes the past, right? And the way that these visions prop up is they're essentially used by the writers as just a little, like, hint button that they just kind of toss Wednesday every once in a while so that she can, like, figure something out or get a piece of information that they can't otherwise figure out, like, how she would find. And it feels like at some point in the writer's room, they thought, oh wait, that's too easy, like, that's too cheap to just be like a free hint. So let's write in a couple lines of dialogue that gets repeated every so often about how the psychic visions are notoriously unreliable and they can be wrong and misleading. And then so they say this like 3 times throughout the show, right? They're notoriously misleading and unreliable, and they don't show the whole picture. And I'm waiting for the part of the show where Wednesday makes an assumption based off of a vision that turns out to be totally wrong, or she didn't see the full picture and she made a bad assumption, and she pays the price for it, right? And she gets a little bit humbled and stuff like that. And then it just doesn't happen. It never happens. Every single vision, and she gets one like almost every episode at least once. Every single vision she gets is completely spot on. Completely spot on. And you would think in a series that has this many, one thing that it does do is that it does hand a lot of like red herrings out, where I was kind of interested in the way that they told the mystery, right? To give the show props, I did find the pacing and the way that the information was generally doled out to actually be pretty solid. As a mystery, I'm not a mystery connoisseur, so I can't say if it was how good it stacks up in the genre, but I can only say that for me, as a viewer who's not really into it, that I actually enjoyed that part of the show. If you ignore the fact that she has no motivation and that there's a lot of contrivances with like character reasoning and stuff like that, that the actual investigation itself is pretty well executed. It's pretty engaging, and I think that's part of what makes the show watchable. But there's never a moment where they use the visions for that, and it's strange because it's like they set it up. It's like this really clear, obvious setup that something's going to happen, and even if you see it coming, it can still work because Wednesday just has such a big ego. She's so full of herself that she doesn't doubt her visions a single time, and she ends up paying the price, and she has a learning moment, something like that. The character changes a little bit, but that never happens. That never happens. And the more that I talk about this show and the more that I think about it, the more I realize it's really fucking bad in a lot of ways. Like, oh my god, there's so many fucking issues with it, and it's just propped up by decent pacing and a couple likable characters. That's really it. I think this show kind of sucks ass in a lot of ways. Like, it's crazy. Was there anything else I forgot about? There's like so many examples where it's like, this should be the learning moment for Wednesday, but it never is. Like, how far? How much does she need to suffer before she changes even a little bit? And she never does. She does like a little bit. She does a teeny weeny bit, but like, not in like a substantial way where you're like, whoa, that was, oh, I see. This is, and like, yeah, you can argue that, hey, season 2 got greenlit. Maybe it'll really start happening in season 2. But as for now, this is just one season. And there really isn't any turning point where I can see the character getting at all better. And again, I want to restate this. I don't need her to get better. She could get worse for all I care. But if you're going to have so many moments and so many like obvious setups for a character arc in like a positive direction, why are you not following through on them? Why do you have like 5 scenes of characters telling her what her flaws are, and then nothing really changes? Why do you have these scenes where Eugene gets hurt, Tyler gets hurt, he fakes the injury, but they don't know that at the time. Thing. Oh, I forgot to mention Thing. Thing is fine. He's kind of enjoyable to watch, but I have this problem, and this is a very personal problem, where I hate the sound design of Thing because he's really thumpy, and it like there's like a body horror element to it, matched with like the thumpy way that like every time he's like walking around because the whole hand that really like I don't like. That like really gives me the heebie-jeebies in like a bad way. Yeah, I'm very vulnerable to like body horror stuff, so Thing kind of hits that for me in a way that it just kind of makes me eke out. That's a personal thing. I think overall it's like Thing's pretty enjoyable. But there's like this, Thing. Fucking Wednesday she goes too far at one point in her investigation. Someone raids her dorm. Finds this book that she collected that had some evidence, steals it, and then literally stabs Thing to a fucking wall. And, Thing is like her family, basically. She considers Thing part of her family, and she's genuinely super fucking upset by this. And she's, this is the Uncle Fester episode. Wow, a lot of people did not like Uncle Fester. I loved Uncle Fester. He's Fred Armisen in this. He is just delightful. He is so hammy. He feels like he's coming from a different show. And I kind of love that, because I feel like it's a show that I would rather be watching. I want to watch like a little special or a little movie about Uncle Fester doing funny criminal hijinks stuff where he's being a goofball and being silly and being a kind of wacky, like, sort of, he's just supernatural enough. Like, he just kind of disappears and reappears. He has weird electricity powers in this for some reason. But he's delightful. I enjoyed him quite a bit. And he sort of suffers from the fact that he's used to deliver a lot of exposition, which is exposition is just, I find, it's very ham-fisted exposition, and I find that very, like, hard to watch and cringy. But everything that is not that is very enjoyable. And she takes him to Uncle Fester, and then he basically uses his electricity powers to, like, try to revive Thing. And it seems like Thing is really gonna die. And I'm like, oh my god. And I don't know if I necessarily wanted that, but I think it would have been good. I genuinely think it would have been good for her character if fucking Thing died, because if anything, it could have been something to actually push her over the edge of wanting to improve a little bit and maybe, like, grow up a little bit. Like, so it's, like, not working, right? It's, like, this really desperate scene. And she grabs Thing. She pulls him close to her, and she goes, and she says something like, if you die, I'll kill you. This is, like, the most upset that she's been in the entire show. And she says, if you die, I'll kill you. It's like isn't that a fucking Superboy line? No, that's all, I'll kill you to death. And it's like this dumb, silly, cringy, immature line, but like it could have been really good, right? That could have been a great. I think that could have worked because it's like the most vulnerable she's ever been in the show. And it's almost like for a moment you can get to see what's really going on underneath this like super shelled, like insular, walled up persona of deadpan that she has. And that like this sort of almost childlike, immature fear that she has that she's going to lose a member of her family. She's going to suffer a substantial loss, and it could be partially her fault that she involved thing in this, and that causes his death, and her saying this very silly, immature line with total sincerity, and then like if he actually died there, could have been like the opportunity for like a literal growing up moment where like she has to get a little more mature and maybe a little more, I don't know, appreciative of the people around her or something like that. You could have gone in a lot of ways that would actually be beneficial for her character. It wouldn't be nice. It would put her through a lot of suffering, but it fucking like at this point, goddamn, how much do you have to go through? How much bad shit has to happen as a result of you for you to change your actions a little bit? And then Thing just comes back to life. And then he's just cool, and then she sews him back up, and it's all good. And it's like, oh, okay. Maybe we'll get some fun Thing hijinks later. All right. You know, we could have had real consequences there for a second. Did not happen. Did not happen. So, anyway, moving on then. All right then. And it's stuff like this that's like, why didn't they? Like, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Why does this happen? I just have so many questions. And it feels like it just comes down to, like, I don't know. And it's so weird that I feel that people think that Wednesday is like the best part of the show, or that Jenna Ortega's performance is the best part of the show, because the character, she does a fine job after those first couple episodes with really cringy, trying way too hard to be cool dialogue. It kind of, it eases up on it, and it gets a lot better. But like, okay, sure, she does a fine job after that part, after that's over with and she's not doing that stuff anymore. She does a fine job of portraying a boring, shallow character. It's like the writers are banking on you enjoying her. It's like they're banking on her attitude being compelling rather than like the character. She's like Poochie. But she's like goth instead of radical. like she's the most important character. That's literally what happens when she's not in the scene. All the other characters should be asking, where's Wednesday? Fucking Enid. Where's Wednesday? Yeah, really just like boring, uninteresting, shallow character. She has nothing. If there is something going on under the surface, the show did not communicate that at all. There is nothing interesting about her. There is nothing likable. There is almost nothing to understand from the looks of it. She just has an attitude, and she makes snarky, deadpan comments about how fucking cool she is. And I'm sorry, I don't enjoy that character at all. But hey, is that it? Oh, there's probably more stuff. That dance sequence is really weird. Like that one that's gotten clipped a lot. It felt really out of character. It's like, okay, she's at the dance, which she didn't really want to be at in the first place, but she went because I kind of forget why. And it's like, okay, I can see her being at the dance, but why does she start dancing? She seems to like hate dancing, or like anything like social, but she starts doing this wacky little dance. It's not the biggest deal, but I was like, this feels just, I don't know, this feels kind of out of left field. I feel like she would just stand there. What is with her like being a little social butterfly all of a sudden? Yeah. Anything else? God, it's a fairly dense show. Isn't there's like a lot that gets packed in. Yeah, I mean, hey, there's a season 2 coming. It got announced like the day before we watched the series. The day before Kat showed it to me. And yeah, maybe, hopefully the writing improves. Hopefully Wednesday has some actual motivations. Hopefully her character is a little less obnoxious. Hopefully Enid gets all of the nice things in life that she deserves. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about Wednesday. It's alright. You can go watch it.